Hello, today for you I've got an interesting product of cooperation between Campfire Audio and Astell&Kern. It's expensive earphones, like this cooperation would have never been cheap or low priced. It's hybrid earphones named Pathfinder. I'm not completely sure about the distribution of tasks, but my assumption is that Campfire Audio are responsible for sound and tuning, and Astell&Kern decided about design and probably the signatures they'd like to achieve. It's a very interesting model with hybrid tuning. Here use dual 10mm dynamic drivers, and they work in the acoustic chamber specially designed. And also here used two balanced armatures, also some sophisticated models. So it's really curious for me to hear them and try. I didn't test recent Campfire Audio expensive models, unfortunately, but have an opportunity to review this one. Price is $1,900, and let's have a closer look. So package is bigger than traditional for the Campfire Audio. Probably it's a requirement of Astell&Kern to match their players and other stuff. Under the outer sleeve we are getting some papers, manuals, and earphones themselves, and they came with first cable, and you can see that they have some silicone tips. And underneath we getting traditional storage pouch and two extra cables. So you'll get 3.5mm cable, 4.4mm and 2.5. Cables are identical, but it's good to have that extended choice. And in this pouch, actually traditional for Campfire Audio, but this time marked by Astell&Kern, in this pouch we are getting also familiar bags with ties, one for storage of earphones themselves so they won't be scratched or damaged, and here you'll get a pretty good set of tips. Final audio type E, usually they fitting the best for me, so my recommendations, subjective of course. Two pairs of silicone tips, and third one was on the earphones. Cleaning tool and a set of foam tips. So as you can see, in terms of accessories, everything is really good here. In terms of design, model is also really interesting. You know, it looks for me more strict compared to traditional Campfire Audio design, with less metal work, some grooves and so on. But at the same time, of course, it's closer to the Astell&Kern design, but still there are some noticeable things familiar by other Campfire Audio models. They are built of metal, they feel a bit heavier than traditional, but fit is really nice, and thanks to this smooth and rounded area, actually they fit into my ears with great sense of comfort. You can see that there is some compensational hole here and there, something strange. I'm not sure, is it something for acoustical tuning or for internal structure. And traditionally for these earphones, one is labeled as Campfire Audio, second one is as Astell&Kern. And the faceplate is also unusual, but totally fitting Astell&Kern design. Sharp edges, shining metal, so it's pretty in their style. And the spouts are familiar, so we've seen this design before, but actually you can see that grill has a different pattern compared to what we've used to see. Length is average, and in general passive sound isolation is also on the average level. It will be enough for public street, for noisy street, public transport or something like that. And there is a lip for holding the tips, so tips holds also really well. And I think there is no sense to speak about build quality. It's also on a really high level, so everything is passed nicely and no traces of some issues during manufacture process. Cable made replaceable. Here used signature beryllium coated MMCX connectors that should provide extended lifetime. They require some effort to disconnect, but still can be disconnected. So they hold with nice click, and here they've used unusual design of the cable. You can see two wires goes in parallel. There is ear hook format, and after that it also goes in parallel with two separated insulations. It's slightly softer than average, but not super soft. But luckily microphonic effect isn't high, so it's comfortable in everyday usage. And unusual thing, it goes here to this splitter, and after the splitter it goes 4 separate wires strictly in parallel to the jack that you will choose. I'm not sure these parallel wires are done for some sound effect or for the design, but looks interesting, attractive, and pretty good in terms of ergonomics. So as you can see, all exterior stuff totally matches this price tire, so everything is done really well. And of course about the sound, it's a demo unit, so it was already burned in before I've got it, so I didn't do any burn in or something like that. And you know, it's pretty noticeable that somewhere among the predecessors of this model present Campfire Audio Solaris. But this model takes another step in tuning, and they offer more firm, more impactful, and more omnipresent low frequencies. So if you like bass, especially deep one, and you want to get like great amount of lows, but not actually overdone, it has accent on the low frequencies and it's noticeable but not too big. And thanks to good, well-tuned, balanced armatures, of course, its mids and treble doesn't get shadowed by the bass, but it's really impactful, really mighty, and at the same time detailed. So you know, before you hear this model, it's hard to imagine what two 10mm dynamic drivers can deliver in terms of amount of air pumped when they work together. And definitely you'll get huge punches, you'll get saturated low frequencies. Of course, detalization is also really good, and they saturate sound with overtones, but in general they tend to bit enlarge acoustic instruments that goes to the deeper bass area. But at the same time they enlarge them and show you smallest nuances and details. It's like zoom into double bass function. For pop music, electronic music, for that genres where you need dominating low frequencies, it's an absolute masterpiece, fitting greatly. So I listened to Michael Jackson best album 2 times when was trying them, simply couldn't stop. But I selected other tracks to use as examples. So first one, it's Bad Wings by the Glitch Mob, and they have a definitely deep bass present here, and this model delivers it in a really great manner. So of course it's not like subwoofer, because subwoofer's bass we not hear by ears, but we perceive it via the whole body. But still maximum depth, good punch, really tight, with a lot of air pumped, and so on. But at the same time bass is controlled well, and when it's not necessary it stays in place. So on not bass heavy tracks they won't add too many low frequencies, staying coherent and well controlled. And not this way, we need to go back way. So Red Hot Chili Peppers, Scar Tissue. This track and all other Red Hot Chili Peppers tracks, of course, stands out due to signature bass lines, and these earphones deliver them nicely, really organic, slightly zoomed in as I've described before, but pretty enjoyable. And thanks to technical mids and treble, also you get good representation of the rest of the track. And also they will deliver you huge punches of that big drum, so you'll get lifelike impression for this part of drum kit. Mids are technical, they are pretty balanced, so something that you can expect from a good balanced armatures. Not too focused on the mids, not sounding too dry, but at the same time it's definitely audible that it's a balanced armature thanks to the good amount of micro nuances and thanks to the absence of some coloration, so they don't try to add dynamics or highlight emotions, but of course if that present in the track they will represent it close to perfection. So in terms of mids, it's what you give, what you get. Of course, model is critical for the quality of record and source, that's also what you can expect. And when record is good, it does a great job in adding weight to instruments and vocal, balancing emotions and other stuff. Imaginary stage, of course, is also big, noticeably close to the biggest ones, not only noticeably bigger than average, closer to maximum values. And actually for me they build depth even better than width, so for me they like go to the depth a bit more, but still 3D positioning and all that other stuff is done really well. And example here, it's Marco Hietala, For You. Great album by great vocalist. Of course, everything here rotates around his vocal, and this model represented nicely with pleasant saturation with warmth because it's present in record, and slightly highlighting instruments of accompanying instruments that goes to the bass area, and in general sounds pleasant and organic. And second track, really requiring good technical performance, it's King Crimson, Larks Tongues in Aspic, second part, but actually anyone will go. And that signature introduction, lot of instruments, guitar, they a bit highlighting deeper notes of guitar, but it sounds pleasant. If you like low frequencies, that will be a good experience for you. And the treble, they are noticeably accented to compensate low frequencies, otherwise it would be just a super basic model without proper representation of treble. So they are highlighted. If you're sensitive to the treble area, it's better to try them before buying, but in general, to my ears, treble is really balanced with good layering, nice overtone saturation, really good extension, sounding natural, realistic, with lot of airiness and that nuances that we can expect from the high-end earphones. Everything of that is present here. First example, it's Pretty Girl by Eric Clapton. Nice acoustic guitar that goes to the treble area, requires pretty good technical performance, and these earphones deliver that, sounding really nicely for this track. And second one, it's Corpo-Mente. If you heard about Igor, that's another project by these musicians, but this one is rotating even more around opera and other stuff. And Dorma is absolutely incredible in terms of vocal. They have really perfect vocalist. Her voice is easily goes from low notes to high, and sometimes she's screaming, sometimes she's singing that it seems that it's some kind of whole. Absolutely incredible thing, and honestly I didn't believe that it's possible to perform live, but then I've seen videos on YouTube, and actually I was shocked, impressed and convinced that it's possible to perform live. and that's a really great experience in music if you like avant-garde genres. And these earphones deliver all that nuances of vocal and other instruments really good. Speaking about the sources, of course, Astell&Kern would like you to get Ultima for them, and they are a perfect match. But it will work with many other players, but still they require some player of higher segment, so starting about $1,000 and above, and they have a good amount of scale, so they performs really well within this segment. Of course, more affordable players will also sound nicely and really pleasant, and even something really affordable, but of course to unveil full potential you need something of higher segment. Speaking about the comparisons, so first model that came to my mind, it's actually Solaris. They have some similarity in tuning, especially in mids and treble, but here you'll get even firmer bass, even bigger, even more impactful, and they have a bit more accented treble compared to Solaris because they need to compensate that bass mightiness. I don't know, Unique Melody Mast Mark II that I often used, they are more natural, less bass and so on, so they closer to neutrality in a noticeable way. And Noble Audio Han that I really like to test sometimes, they have less impact on the low frequencies, but they a bit more on the warmer side of things. Because they have less sharp treble and organic mids and also nice bass, but not as accented. So it was Campfire Audio and Astell&Kern Pathfinder. Really interesting earphones, but for really not that interesting price. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.